Here are Alvin Williams and Paul Jones. And guys, what an emotional, incredible scene Monday at Talladega. But new information has surfaced since then. And the FBI says this was not a hate crime directed at Bubba Wallace. In fact, that noose had been hanging in garage number 4 as early as October 2019. But that aside, I think what we saw and the way the drivers reacted is what's going to stick here. And is that something, Jonesy, that gives you hope going forward?
Well, it does, Brad. And when I think about it, Bubba Wallace is the only African-American driver. And, we talk about if you're an ally, it's not enough to say, I'm not racist. You must prove that you are anti-racist, almost go out of your way to show, because, the old silence is complicity. Well, I'm not racist and you don't do anything. With all those drivers getting behind Bubba Wallace and pushing his car to the start line, that says something about where NASCAR is trying to go. And it's a second big event for them in the last couple of weeks after taking down the Confederate flag. So, Al, it's something to see Bubba Wallace with all those guys that don't look like him behind him pushing his car, literally.
Yeah, symbolically, it's just something that it just shows you just guiding, helping, pushing along, and support. Sports is a vehicle of life, of things that go on. And I think that's a hell of a symbol of right there of what's needed to get past these type of events, to get past, the way the world has been over hundreds of years. So it makes me feel happy. It's a feel-good moment.
And a great footnote to that, when Bubba Wallace finished the race eventually in 14th and went to greet the crowd, and he took off his surgical mask. He said, I know I'm supposed to wear it, but I want people to see my face. I want people to see who I am and who they were cheering for. It's great stuff. That's a bigger picture issue. That's almost like the entire league when it comes to NASCAR. Now, Alvin, we move within the locker room. Is there an importance for the culture and the code and the talk and everything to change within each locker room in the NBA as we move forward?
Yeah, I think it's funny. The locker room is so intimate and it's a sacred place. And there's a lot of conversation in the locker room is just surface, right? It's sometimes it's BS, sometimes is little boy talk, and we are like kids when we're in that locker room when I was a player, but there's also an opportunity for so many things to take place as far as meaningful conversation. Now you see the social instances, right? You see these things that can be discussed, that we can align with things. We can start making a movement. We can start putting plans in effect. So I do believe the locker room can be a place where these conversations can start taking a little bit of a turn for some more serious matters.
Paul.
Well, Brad, Alvin talks about NBA locker rooms, and the good thing about an NBA locker room is there's only, 15, 17, 18 guys and, your support staff. So it's, as Al said, it's relatively intimate. I think some of the other locker rooms need to undergo some changes. Football in particular. You've got, 60 guys in the locker room, and when you talk about practice squad people, and it's more difficult, I think, to get to know a teammate. That's where locker rooms need to start, mirroring life. Guys getting to know one another and know where they're from and understand, walk in a guy's shoes, understand where he's come from. And when he makes a statement on either side, look at where he's coming from with it. And that's a time for discussion. Might be a difficult discussion, but I think you can start to have those conversations in locker rooms now.
All right, and I'll come right back to you with this, because the NBA gets credit for its diversity, and that is certainly due credit. They've been ahead of the curve in terms of most sports, but that comes within the game and perhaps the players and some of the coaching staffs, et cetera. What about the bigger picture in the NBA when it comes to the entire landscape of it? Are they doing a good enough job?
Yeah, when we talked about this last week, when, Alvin and I and Sherman were on, we talked about the fact that it's like running a marathon. And I think the NBA is the leader. They're out there in front, but they do still have a long way to go. I mean, there were some stats the other day published around, no minorities leading PR positions in the NBA. I know from a broadcast standpoint, there are now 2 with the hiring in Chicago, 2 minorities calling games on TV, and no full-time black radio play-by-play guys. I love the fact that, you know, the NBA was the first one to have female officials. There are more female assistant coaches now than there are minority head coaches. That's fine. That's great. It leads to the diversity. It's opening it up for people. But at the same time, there's still a long way to go. They've come a long way, but there's a long way to go.
All right, final word to you, Alvin. It's sort of a big picture question, so go wherever you like with it. But how can players best affect change going forward, sort of individually? Does it just start at a very small level with a gesture, perhaps, and things build from there?
Well, yeah, of course. You start small and you have a platform. And I think, once again, it's conversation. I think the one thing that the players cannot do is be decisive or divisive. I'm sorry, divisive. They need to be decisive. But it's disturbing when you see, you know, certain players say certain things and, you know, they're combating against each other at these times. I think it's a great opportunity for players to come together. They come up with a game plan. They have a hell of a platform. They have the resources. Financially, something can be put in place where they can make a hell of an impact. The conversations have started. They're going about it, but I would love for the players to have some structure internally, and then, you know, exercise those things to the out masses.
All right, well said, guys. We appreciate it again, Paul Jones and Alvin Willams.
Thank you.